It's Wednesday on Jasiri, and today we're opening up a conversation that rarely, even if it had ever been on Nigerian TV, it's very often avoided, misunderstood, and whispered about. Beyond the medical terms and labels, schizophrenia is a lived experience. It shapes how a person thinks, feels, relates with others, and navigates everyday life. It affects perception, behavior, and reality itself. And yet, many people living with it, the hardest battle isn't just the condition, but the stigma that surrounds it. In Nigeria and around the world, fear and misinformation have pushed too many people into silence and isolation at the very moment when understanding, support, and compassion matter the most. But today, we're doing things differently. Our guest understands schizophrenia from both sides as a trained pharmacist and as someone who is personally living his journey. From diagnosis to treatment, from public judgment to self-acceptance, he's here with us today to share what it's really like to live with schizophrenia. Honestly, openly, and without shame. We'll get into the conversation shortly, but very fast.
But first, we turn our attention to the worsening insecurity in northwest Nigeria, where fear and displacement are once again upending lives in rural communities. In eastern Sokoto State, residents of villages such as Tidibale in Isa local government area are fleeing their homes in droves after renewed threats from notorious bandit kingpin Bello Turji. What has been months of relative quiet has now given way to panic as Turji warns of, in quote, dire consequences for communities that refuse to align with them, forcing families to abandon homes, farmlands, and livelihoods. Men, women, and children, and the elderly have now taken flight to towns like Isa and Gid and Hamisu, and even into neighboring Shinkafi in Zamfara State, seeking safety and shelter. Farmers who should be preparing for the planting season are instead sleeping in overcrowded makeshift spaces, uncertain if they will ever be able to return. For some communities, truces have been negotiated with Turji not out of support for banditry, but as a desperate survival strategy. Others who refuse to enter such informal deals will now face the full weight of the threats. And this latest wave of displacement reflects a broader pattern of insecurity across the northwest, where banditry has become embedded in the daily lives of ordinary Nigerians. Let's take reactions.
The continued freedom of Bello Turji raises serious questions about the government's sincerity. It is no secret which region, states, or even local governments he inhabits. Even the people of Shinkafi, LGA, can trace his movements. Why then does apprehending him remain such a struggle? If there is no hidden agenda, the authorities must move past excuses and address this unbearable security threat immediately. Not a lie told. People are fleeing their own homes because a known criminal can announce his intentions and nobody stops him. Shame. The same people were the ones complaining when the U.S. dropped several airstrikes or airstrikes in the camp of terrorists and bandits, claiming there are no terrorists or bandits in Sokoto. Let them come out on air and beg the U.S. that they were wrong and they need help. Make this make sense. How come troops are not sent to that area and to ensure the safety of the people of Sokoto and eradicate these bandits? Imagine issuing a threat and carrying the threat out. Now, what is all this, and why do we even have the executives? How can a bandit be this loud and bold, yet nothing has been done? The more you look at the ongoing scenes in Nigeria, the more you question your sanity. If you understand Nigeria's problems, then something is wrong with you. There's no way one can understand what exactly is wrong with this country. A country where there is a government, a country where state governors in the north will rather release the arrested terrorists back into the community so that they can terrorize more, or what? A country where the oppressed people will still go out there to cast their votes for their oppressors. It's a shame, pity, that we have come to live with this situation for as long as the political actors want it. That's all. I had to. Do you know that this guy has a Wikipedia page?
Yes.
He has a Wikipedia page dedicated to him. I don't know who opened it, but on his Wikipedia page, it talks about his early life, and it's well, they call it service. This is so funny. They call it service years, and say he's been in operation. Can we please close the noise, please? So sorry. They call it service years, and he's been in operation since 2011. His allegiance is to banditry on his Wikipedia page. So it talks about his early life, and it talks about the fact that some of his family's cattle were allegedly were stolen by pro-security forces, a vigilante group, and then 6 of his siblings were also murdered. And he said that is what prompted him to take up arms. And in an interview with Daily Trust, we're even interviewing him. This is what is important to me. He is known to have been responsible for numerous massacres and terrorist attacks against civilians and security forces in the northwest region of the country, especially Zamfara and Sokoto states. In September 2021, the Yan Sakai attacked a mosque, killing 11 people. He responded by leading his bandits towards a market in Sokoto state. They opened fire, killing at least 50. Between 50 to 60 civilians. His forces also attacked a bus in 2021 December, setting it on fire and burning the passengers inside to death, with 30 people dying in the ambush. He was the mastermind behind the slaughter of over 200 people in Zamfara state in January 2022. And he's a rival of another bandit leader named Dogo Gidi. The guy that said if you understand Nigeria's problems, something's wrong with you is not lying. How do you make sense of this?
I'm just trying to make
You cannot make sense of it, because this guy has been in action since 2011. The recent one was 2022, and it's something he takes pride in. If you go further down his Wikipedia page, you see that this is a response. This man they start by saying that, oh, he's a headsman. He didn't have any formal education. And, all this speaking of arms started because they had a grouse. His family members were killed. His father was killed by some person, and then there was retaliation, and he feels that, okay, there's a genocide against Fulani. So he has a movement on his own. He has a narrative that he works with. And he says that, he is there to stop the unnecessary killings and the
unnecessary killings by killing some more.
This man has a narrative on his own, and has been
that the media discriminates against the Fulanis and never reports the killing of innocent Fulanis, and he claims that he wants peace to reign in the country, and that he believes the security issues in Nigeria have been politicized, and that government is not treating the ethnic groups in the country equally.
There's nothing anybody will tell you
I'm just,
or he hasn't worked with government.
when somebody can clearly state his agenda like this, and it can be publicly viewed. And this is someone that has come out, an individual. We're not even talking like, oh, he came out like hiding under a group. No. This is a sole individual who has, taken it upon himself to be named. And people know him. They said even people around his Shinkafi local government can track him. They know where he is. Of course, if he's negotiating with the people, that means there's a way they reach out to him if they want to, continue the negotiations. And you are telling me that our security forces need some additional tactics or special training to be able to apprehend this one person. And you can imagine the impact of what he is doing. We might not be feeling it now, but look at all the people he's displacing. Everybody's running from their home, their settlement, and that is him in clear daylight. He's not hiding. He's not. You don't even need to put his face. Granting interviews. So you can't tell me that this guy can't be found.
These are people leaving the area
because they see how ruthless he is.
I was just trying to say,
he cannot work by himself. He's been affiliated to one of the former governor, one of the former
allegations,
allegations
that they gave them new alleged. See, guys, this whole situation is so much more. So some of the things we need to also consider when we talk about these things is the human impact we're talking about. The displacement of families, especially women, children, and the elderly from their homes and farms. There's the interruption of farming and livelihoods. Planting season is coming about. Now, some of these farmers have left, and they won't be able to plant. And for some of these areas, there's a window. If you do not plant during that window, you will not have a harvest. That's a whole family's livelihood.
It's a cycle.
Then his reemergence after a period of relative silence. Why is he coming back? They had deals. He's one of the guys, unfortunately, that some of the villages have struck informal agreements with, not because they want to, but because it's a means of survival. There's nobody who's coming to rescue them. So let me deal with the devil and have a very long handshake with him, since the angel who's supposed to be my government and security forces doesn't know when to sweep in and be a hero. Let me also, I'm coming. The use of threats and truces as tactics, including agreements in some Zamfara communities that are described as survival strategies. Then where is the government?
Where is the
economic cost of this displacement, cost of loss of crops, livestock, income, school attendance
for the school, for the children.
Let me add something to this. In the midst of his threats, just a few days ago, the Katsina state government found itself in the middle of controversy because they had announced plans to release about 70 people currently on trial for alleged involvement in banditry and terrorism. And they have been justifying it because the conversation continues. People are upset and they're justifying it and said that the move was intended to sustain peace accords reached between affected communities and repentant bandits, that the initiative would strengthen existing peace agreements with armed groups operating across the state.
No, me, I just want to know. No, you can't even tell me. Nobody can tell me, because I'm using my intelligent head to follow all these things that we're talking about, and you're telling me that the government is not complicit in all this. How are you saying that you do not know what to do in this situation? Let's even leave all other situations. Let's isolate this guy and say that, okay, this is the only bandit that we're facing in Nigeria.
Treat him like Osama bin Laden.
No, but that means, Tolu, there are so many things that it makes me begin to think that there must be question, because there must be more that meets the eye. This guy cannot be walking freely, being able to grant interviews, and you're telling me our security agencies cannot apprehend him. Make it make sense, because I do not understand what is happening.
Of course they can apprehend him. They just don't want
to. So if they don't want to apprehend him, why?
One can tell me he is in bed with people. He is not acting alone. Guys, let's be honest.
He can't be.
He's not acting alone. Why the lethargic approach to bringing him to book? This is a man who's giving interviews. Yeah. He has confidence in his movements. He has strategies. This is a man that the displaced community, they are in palpable fear of him. And they cannot do anything. Like Tolu says, they prefer to make a deal with the dine with this individual.
Where does he get all his ammunitions from?
He has killings to his name. Remember that the murder of people in Benue State?
Yeah.
I think he had.
Where is Zamfara? Where is he getting guns? No, this doesn't make sense to me. Exactly. He's in bed. Definitely, you will know that there are powers that are protecting this kind of individual.
Yes.
And if we continue to have more than one of these individuals, which we already have in this country, Tolu, this is trouble. This is a lot of... Wahala almost came to my head. This is Wahala. Because Wahala. You know how long it took us to be able to bring the people in Niger Delta to order. Years of carnage, of destruction. And now we are now sitting down with this one, listening.
Have you not seen some of the videos where they enter the villages and they go and do these truce meetings, and how there was one we took sometime late last year who said he was feeling insulted, I think, by how they were received. And it's just, it is mind-boggling.
How about the ones that are asking for schools and hospitals?
Yes, we took that towards the end of the year too. That they wanted ranches, they wanted schools, and they wanted hospitals. I want to add to this because there's I don't know how this investigative piece by Premium Times is going to land. I've just been thinking about what I've seen, and it's a deep investigative piece. And it says that government records and EFCC filings show that Bello Bodejo, a leader of Miati Allah Katol Hore, received millions of dollars in 4 tranches from Bauchi state funds. The payments were made while he was under intense scrutiny. And if you go further, because I already started looking at that particular report, and it just, the implications inside the FCC's terrorism financing money laundering charge against Bauchi officials. They were giving them dollars. Guys, we're not talking naira. According to this report, it was cash payments in dollars. Some of it handed out in restaurants. around, just places around. And then we have security votes. And then our governors make it seem like their hands are tied. And I think one thing Nigerians need to do is, yes, the federal has a lot of role to play in this, but we need to redirect some of that energy and that attention, spotlight and focus back to the governors. They make it seem like they're absolutely helpless. Security vote.
No, I don't even understand.
What are you doing with it?
What are we saying? Because if they are, now we are seeing, they said they kidnap some children, they get them out of the terrorists' hands and kidnappers, and no arrest is made, nothing. Do you not know that there's something happened in that little, from the rescue, from the kidnap to the rescue? You want to tell me that there's no walk in between? Is that walking between that?
Can I shock you guys? Let me tell you how much. Should I tell you? Because it feels like it's going to spoil everything.
No, it's fine. We might as well.
According to its records and agents and the investigation that Premium Times has done, the Bauchi state government dispersed a total of $2.33 million, not naira, dollars, to this particular individual in 4 tranches across 4 months between 2023 and 2024. This is also someone who actually spent 6 months cumulatively in detention in 2024, briefly faced terrorism charges within the year before the Attorney General of the Federation's office withdrew the case without giving reasons. So we've talked about Turji, we've talked about people in Bauchi, we're talking about what the cat said. So across the region, we need to ask the leaders of the region, is this how you want to go forward? Is this what you intend to do? You're doing buyouts, payouts, you're approving, you're in a way, you're encouraging your people to do truces with and when we talk about banditry and terrorism, it's like we don't get down. You're talking about kidnapping women, children, even old people. You're talking about raping children, raping women, probably some rape of men involved as well. They're talking about murder. Because when we say charges of banditry and terrorism, I don't feel like it gets down to the nitty-gritty of the actions of these individuals.
The actions of these individuals that you are telling me, you just said it now, that somebody that was even charged and he was in prison for a while on acts on allegations of terrorism, and he was released with no reason given, nothing. So who do we want to continue? Who are we talking to? No, I want to know who is coming to save us. This is like a situation of nobody is coming to save anybody. Because if they know this person, they know his whereabouts, he's public, he's open, he's granting interviews. So are you telling me that he can't be apprehended? Of course they don't want to apprehend him. So how do the people in these places save themselves?
And you know, there's more, I feel there's more that will still come to light, because we're in the eve of election year and there's so many things that are going to unfold. This is Nigeria. The drama never ends. There's so many things that will unfold. What is his name? He's not acting alone. That's certain. We all know, even if we're not saying it, he's not acting alone. And there are other people who are walking his shoes. Like I said, it's the eve of election year. We should expect the unexpected and expect anything. And it's not there's the reluctance from government to apprehend him, how difficult it is. That is the core of the conversation we've had this morning so far. How difficult is it to apprehend him? That's number one. If he's not in cahoots with people who are in government, look at what Premium Times, the report from Premium Times, this we're just scratching the surface. So there's no one's hands are clean in everyone. It seems like there's a ripple effect and everyone so far is complicit.
I don't even know what to say, because this is, Yoruba will say, oh, Buto say, you can't swallow the fat, and you cannot lick the salt either. So this is like our hands are just tied. We're just supposed to look at it like a movie and just allow everything continue to play, and the drama and the carnage and the destruction continues unabated.
Let's take a few comments. We have to move on. Now, good morning, sisters. How are you doing? I really like your program. God will continue to bless you. Thank you so much for last day. We have another comment here. Greetings, pretty ladies in the house. The reason the bandit leader Turji still cools off in his comfort zone is simply because he's from a particular ethnic group in Nigeria. Let a replica of this emanates from the south-south or the southeast of the country. Then and now you will know that the DSS is working. My dear, we are watching, and time will tell the end of it all. And that's Comrade Caleb Chibua from Asaba Delta States. And Let's go on a break. Schizophrenia is one of the most misunderstood mental health conditions globally. Now imagine living with this condition in a country like Nigeria, a country that still struggles to have simple conversations about mental health issues. After the break, Favour Jeremiah, pharmacist and content creator, joins us to tell his story of life, work, and identity while living with schizophrenia. You don't want to miss this. This is Jasiri.
Welcome back. This is still Jasiri, and remember, you can be part of the conversation by sending us a message via WhatsApp. The numbers on the screen now to +234 705 0500 1212. Today's conversation is the kind that we rarely see on television here in Nigeria, because we're talking schizophrenia, not from a doctor's viewpoint, but from that of someone living with it. Schizophrenia is said to affect approximately 1% of the world's population, and while that might sound small, it translates into millions of lives, family members, friends, colleagues, and neighbors, all navigating the real challenges of this condition. Yet, the awareness in Nigeria remains low, and myths persist about what schizophrenia really is and what it is not. While exact nationwide numbers vary, studies in Nigeria show that schizophrenia is common, with some hospital-based research indicating rates from around 1% to over 20% in patient groups, and overall prevalence of psychotic disorders suggesting millions affected, although precise current figures for the entire population are limited. This highlights significant mental health needs, and our guest today is a pharmacist, Favour Jeremiah. He's also living with schizophrenia. Beyond his professional work, Favour uses his social media platforms, including TikTok and Instagram, to educate Nigerians about schizophrenia, the challenge, misconceptions, and shares real-life challenges and experiences to reduce stigma. Favour, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Jasiri.
Thanks for having me. Very grateful.
All right, Favour, it's great to have you with us. And as we said earlier, schizophrenia is a very sensitive topic for many people because it's often associated with craziness in our local situation. There is still so much unknown about the condition and very little discussion or education about it here in Nigeria. So let's start at the very beginning. When did you first realize you were different? And I use different to, because we may get some of the terminology wrong, so I apologize in advance. None of it is intended in any way. So, but in terms of difference in how your mind worked versus how it was expected to work.
So when I was 16, I started noticing symptoms, psychotic symptoms. But I wasn't aware that it was psychosis. And that's because there's this medical term called anosognosia, where people that are experiencing psychosis symptoms don't actually realize that they are experiencing it. It's common with mental illnesses. So yeah, but I noticed that when I was 16.
What were those symptoms, Favour?
The very first symptom I realized was hearing voices. I started hearing voices.
Wow.
And then I started withdrawing from people because I was obeying what the voices were telling me to do. So yeah.
I'm so sorry, Lolo. I know you have a question, but Favour, I'm gonna follow up. What were the voices saying to you? What were they telling you?
Well, the thing was that my dad had just died of recent. Okay, so the very first thing that was happening was that it was more like consolation and, well, something like a friend. Okay, that's how it started.
Oh.
That's exactly how it started.
Like you were communicating with someone like a friend, where some people were saying
like I was literally
balance.
communicating with someone else. That's exactly how it was at first.
All right. Okay. Because me particularly, I think I've been around people who have had a bit of, different kinds of mental health situations, especially schizophrenia, the one that is associated with hallucination. I have a close family member who, goes through that from time to time. So take us through what you had to go through to get a proper diagnosis. Because in Nigeria, we already demonize anything mental health. What were the challenges that you experienced in getting a diagnosis? Or how did you take it? Let's just take it maybe in bit by bit. How did you arrive at a diagnosis first?
Well, it took a long while. It took a very long while for me to first accept the fact that I was even mentally ill. Because going to the neuropsychiatric hospital was very, very, very annoying for me. Not just annoying, but it was very, like, should I say demeaning? Yeah, demeaning is something to say. Because there's this way that people will look at you right after it. Like, the first thing people say, even workers, there's like, did you do drugs? That kind of things. So, yeah. So, accept that it took a lot for me. So, a lot of things actually happened before I even got to the neuropsychiatric hospital, before I was admitted for my very first time. First off, I started failing in school. I affected my academics a lot. Then I actually ended on the street at once. So I was also experiencing this symptom called passivity phenomenon, which made it difficult for me to speak. And that was when my parents were like, okay, this guy can't speak and he's acting weird. So they like forced me there. They literally bonded, low-key bonded me there because I didn't want to go. As I said earlier, I was experiencing anosognosia. So I didn't want to accept the fact that I was mentally ill. So they had to force me there. Yeah. And even after going there for the first time, after admitting me, I did not still accept the fact that I was ill and I was not taking my meds consistently. So it took a lot of years for me to like say like, okay, I don't want to go back to the psych ward. I don't want to go back to the psychiatric hospital because I hate that place. So I started taking my meds judiciously, and then I started making content about it because I was quite depressed. I was experiencing another symptom, a negative symptom called anhedonia. That is lack of interest or pleasure in the things that would once give you interest in. So I was trying to find whatever I could do to accept everything. So I accepted the fact that I was ill. That was the first thing I did. I started taking my meds consistently. I started creating content about it. And, well, that was basically it. Yeah, my doctor told me it's schizophrenia, and I was like, okay, schizophrenia, I'll work with that. Started learning more about it, and here's what it is.
I like the fact that you are very open about your struggle with it. I want to know, how did your family handle the diagnosis? Because, you know, for some people, their family are the only unit that really understand them when this condition starts. How did your family handle it?
Well, honestly speaking, some of my family were very cool with it.
And when you say
I'm not talking about my extended family though, but like my mother was like my best supporter, my major supporter. And then my stepdad too, he has always been a good supporter too. They actually do not stigmatize me for it. Although they can be like sometimes, yeah, that things happen, but then they don't stigmatize me for it. They are actually quite nice. And I love my mom for everything that she does. My mom is like my biggest supporter, in terms of, yeah, go and take your meds. So they'll come in the night, they'll like 8 p.m. You have to take your meds, take your meds. Or it's time for your next appointment at the neuropsychiatric hospital, that kind of stuff. So yeah, they've been all right with it. I think I'm lucky in that regards because I don't think everybody has that kind of family, but then yeah.
Yeah, I know. Before we go on a break quickly, Favour, your attitude is infectious. Absolutely. Your positivity is very warming to see. So let me quickly ask you before we go on a break. Do you think from your research, your content, and from responses you've gotten so far from what you've put out in terms of your journey with schizophrenia, do you think it's something people are born with, or is it triggered, or does it develop at a certain age?
Schizophrenia actually, there are triggers, there are causes and risk factors. That's first of all. There's that, and there's also the fact that there's a certain age gap where it starts with people. It starts at late adolescence and early adulthood, and then risk factors and causes are vast. Genetics is just there, like it's just not necessarily it. There are a lot of other ones. There's genetics. There's environmental triggers. By environmental triggers, I'm talking about childhood trauma and stress, excessive stress. Okay. There's also, for me, I'm talking about me this time. So I think mine was based off of childhood trauma and stress, because that's how my doctor explained it. It was like the brain is like a rubber band, and as a rubber band is enlarged, that's how the brain too is stretched. Sorry, the brain too is stretched, just like a rubber band via stress. Okay, so it said that my brain went through so much stress that just like a rubber band, it reached this breaking point, and then bam, mental illness type shit. So that happened. And well, this is what it is. And then the thing, as I said earlier on, it's a mixture of factors, not just genetics. Yeah. There's genetics, there's brain chemistry, there's brain structure. By brain chemistry, I'm talking about the dysregulation, that is the way glutamate is produced and sorry, I'm a pharmacist. So I don't know.
It's fine.
It's all right. Okay, so the dopamine, glutamate, and other neurotransmitters in the brain are released and everything. Then brain structure is brain size, and if there are developmental problems as a child, there's that too. So there are various factors that could cause it. And some people don't even have to be like their parents had it or somebody in the family. They just develop because of trauma and stress. So various things could cause it. So a mixture of factors.
All right, so Favour, hold on. We're going to go for a quick break now. And when we come back, we'll keep talking about it and look at some of the myths, misconceptions, and the stigma around schizophrenia in Nigeria. This is a really, really personal conversation, and we're very grateful to Favour for sharing with us today. Let's pick it up after the break. Schizophrenia is one of the most misunderstood mental health conditions in Nigeria. For many people, the word itself immediately brings fear, myths, and stereotypes, often shaped by misinformation, cultural beliefs, and silence. Too often, conversations around schizophrenia focus on labels rather than lives, on assumptions rather than understanding. People living with the condition are frequently judged, isolated, and reduced to false narratives that paint them as dangerous, incapable, or beyond help. Our guest, Favour Jeremiah, is breaking those stereotypes and sharing his truth of living with schizophrenia. Favour, one of the words often associated with schizophrenia is psychosis, which can involve hallucinations and delusions. Now, you told us about in the early days when the condition was developing, you were hearing voices early on. At the beginning, you said that they were consoling and condoling around the time that your father passed away. Did the what would I say? Did the nature of the voices change? Tell us your experience. Have you had experience dealing with psychosis, and how it has shown up or affected your daily life?
Okay, so the psychosis symptoms that I started to experience after a while, like, first of all, it was voices, as I said earlier on. Then from voices to delusion, I started to believe that I was God. That was my first delusion, like Jesus Christ, the second coming. That was what the voices told me. Okay, wow. So I believed that I was Jesus Christ, the second coming. Then I was hearing voices, and then after a while, I started to see things as well to like back up everything. So it was kind of like my mind. Psychosis is a lot of thoughts reality, all right? So yeah, but like my mind was, doing its own thing, and then I just had to flow with it because this is my own head. Okay, so I started to become like, okay, this is my new reality. Like, I'm a different person from everybody else. I'm a superpowered human being, that kind of thing. So I knew I was Jesus Christ, because since this was what the voice were telling me, like, I started to be like, okay, I'm the only one that hears the voices, and that's because I'm a special person. Okay, hallucinations can be auditory, visual, and somatic. Auditory is hearing. Okay, visual is seeing things that I'm not sure there, and then somatic is like, or tactile hallucinations like feeling things on your body. Like for me, to like energy from my head to my spine. For other people, it could be like they feel like their organs are being moved, whatever. It's just like tactile things that are not sensory, in your body. Yeah, it's different for different people since the spectrum. Okay, so my early symptoms were auditory hallucinations, then which backed up or which made me start to become delusional. I started to believe that I was God, and then it progressed downwards to visual hallucinations started to show up. Then tactile hallucination, somatic hallucination, the energy. So the energy would be like combined with the voices. So it'd be like, okay, this is God talking at this point in time with the energy. So it was very convincing for me. Yeah, so I started to do things that the voices were telling me to do.
Like
I knew that
what?
this was the Holy Spirit talking.
Favour, like what things?
Okay, I was reading my Bible a lot much more since I was hearing. And then it made me, I was a very shy person. Okay, so it made me come out in front of the class. I say Jesus loves you every single day. And then in the bus, every single day. And then after school in the hostel for at least 30 minutes. So as many people as possible every single day, the same words, Jesus loves you. And I felt like this was like me doing destiny, like feeling my destiny at that point in time. So just crazy. That was just the beginning. So the thing about this is that at the early stage, it's usually like positive symptoms that will show up. Then from there, it will switch on to negative symptoms. If you don't know about negative symptoms, there is anhedonia, which is loss of interest in things that will give you pleasure before. And also things like, for me, it was depression, that one kind of depression that I think that's evolution. Like you get just be down, you just be much more down than normal. So those things that happen because the voices switched up. They stopped being all the nice and consoling voices. They became like abusive and scary. And so so during my exams that started, and that was my 300 level. So I was so scared that I wasn't studying my books. And I started failing.
Wow.
Later on, the core symptom that gets, okay, that's the start of everything. So later on, the core symptom that started bugging me the most was passivity phenomenon, which is like when your body is being controlled by an external factor. Not everybody experiences this though, but I'm one person that experiences that. So yeah, like my body was being controlled by an external factor, that kind of thing. So my hands would feel like it wasn't really necessarily me controlling it, or my mouth at times. And then, but I'll know when it's happening. Yeah. Okay. So, and then my speech, like someone else was speaking. So I literally felt like there was somebody else. And that person was the owner of the voices that had been talking to me ever since. So everything was so real to me, but somebody else is just like, okay, what's going on with this guy? Like, why is he talking like this? Or why is he walking like this? Or why is he acting this way? But then it's lost of touch reality for me that nobody else experiences. And that was psychosis for me.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I every time I'm listening to you, it just feels like I should have you in Lagos and we're having a conversation because you are so knowledgeable and grounded in the things that you experience, and you have a very great way of passing it across that even those that do not know, but I'm very at home with, you know, mental health issues, so I understand it somehow. So let's talk about misconceptions, because that is where Nigerians thrive. Anything they don't understand, this, that, because I understand hearing voices, because sometimes when you talked about trauma, I remember when my mother died, of course you would hallucinate, you would be delusional, because trauma has happened to you. I will feel as if I hear, you know, footsteps coming up, and it's audible, like, pa, pa, pa. And I know my mother never wore heels, so how could her feet be that loud, you know? But because I understand and I've read a little, what do you understand about misconception? And what is the most harmful myth you've heard about schizophrenia?
One of the most harmful ones, like the literal most harmful one, is people not believing that you're sick. You'd be going through the worst case scenario, and people will be thinking it's a demon or it's a spiritual illness, and they'll be praying for you, and they'll be taking from one church to another, one pastor to another, whereas you're suffering and then the solution is not there.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. It's happened to me like for years. I was one of the major people that did not believe I was sick myself, but then other people too did not necessarily believe. Let's put my mom did not believe I was sick. She took it from one pastor to the other. Like, pray for me. So that's one crazy one. But then when I started creating content, things I'm not so, I told you before, I'm shy, so I'm not someone that really had many friends. So yeah. But when I started creating content, I started realizing that there's another one that I felt like, since my parents would not call me mad, but then there are people that would do that on your comment section. So yeah, that's quite annoying as well. It's quite very bad. It gets you down actually. But then over time you can get over it. You can get over that. But one of the most harmful misconceptions is that you're not actually sick. That it's a spiritual thing or something. Because I get a lot of comments that are like, okay, on my DMs, they'll be like, my family takes my younger brother that is mentally ill, even though I've taken him to the doctor and he's diagnosed him of a certain mental illness, but they keep taking them from herbalist to herbalist. They do whatsoever, they pay huge sums of money and he's not getting better, that kind of thing. So in the end, he ends up on the streets or whatsoever the case may be. Like, he's not going progressive in life because they don't believe that it's a mental illness. That's one of the most harmful. That one thing that is not ill, that it's something else. And it's everywhere, it's almost everywhere. They don't want to believe that, okay, mental illness is this, because of the stigma that is associated with the neuropsychiatric hospital. That same word that most people use of that mad, it creates this kind of stigma that will make people or relatives of those that actually experience mental illnesses not want to give them the actual treatment. So yeah.
Okay, so let me piggyback on Lolo's question, because as Nigerians, yes, it's known, it's a 100% solid fact that if you're looking for unsolicited advice and assumptions, we are quick.
We're
to
number
share.
one.
Yes. And I like the way you're taking it with so much grace, and you're laughing, and then you're making us laugh in the studio, because I can imagine some things that you've heard and you haven't yet shared with us. But I'm going to ask you now, piggybacking off of Lolo's question, what were the kind of things suggested to you or your family as the cause of your medical, I said cause of your medical condition, and what suggestions did they have for it, apart from going from one pastor to the other? Because we're 100%, that's our work.
Well, the thing about my mom was that she was a very, very, very spiritual person. Like, she was all God. It's either God or nothing. So she kept on praying for me. Even now, she still prays for me. She still, like, there's no day that my mom will not pray about my health. So, yeah, even now, she made sure not to look towards herbalists and all of those things. Like, it was from social media I got to like hear about a lot that they take to like herbalists, they take to spiritual people to like pray for them, all of those. So even spiritual, those kind of people like in my comment section are like, okay, it's this, it's that, it's this, that. Nah, I don't want to believe that. I know what I went through believing that I was a spiritual person. So if I believe that this is me being open to another kind of dimension, or like it's a spiritual awakening. I get a lot of those kind of comments, like it's spiritual. I used to get, actually, but I started to like attack them because I didn't like that. I didn't believe that either. But then that's something that a lot of people will say. But my family did not say that. Yeah. But that's a lot of things that a lot of people say. But just that if this was something that I exposed to like my extended family, like there's some of my extended family that might go about saying it like as a spiritual thing, but then we don't really talk to them like that just. So yeah. But my main family, they took it as, okay, is that, but then they also made sure to take me to the neuropsychiatric hospital. From there I got treatment, and then I actually had to learn a lot about the illness myself to get better. So yeah.
So that's where we're heading, but let me take a comment that has come in on our WhatsApp. And Sugar Rush Sharon says, through this astonishing young man, Favour, that's you, I got to realize people living with mental illness can still come to achieve great things as long as there is support from people living around them or in their lives, as well as personal determination and strength. And that's from Sharon in our WhatsApp. We see you, Sharon. Thank you so much. And Favour, this is the work. This is what you're trying to do. Yes. So there's a quick, okay, let's take a break before I get into this question. Let's take a break and then we'll come back. So Favour, I just want to tell you now that you have a standing invitation whenever you're in Lagos. We need you at this table because we want to take the conversation further. Time will not allow. This is what we would normally do as a two-parter. So our second part of this conversation is whenever you're in Lagos. But I want to ask you about living with the condition. There's the diagnosis, but then there's living with it. So beyond the clinical symptoms, what were some of the personal challenges or the biggest personal challenges you had to overcome in accepting the diagnosis and getting to this point where you are? You're a pharmacist now. So that means you've gone through school, you had to deal with this while you were in school. So what were some of the biggest personal challenges you've had to overcome to become this Favour that we see in front of us that is inspiring people?
Well, one of the first things I had to overcome, one of the first challenge was accepting the fact that I had the mental illness. It was so difficult. It was so difficult to say, oh, Favour, you're actually sick and you're probably going to be sick for the rest of your life.
Why was it so difficult? Sorry, it's as if he's here in the studio. Why was it so difficult for you to accept it? Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard to live with one. And then it's hard to accept that you're actually going to live on for the rest of your life. It's not like malaria that you say, oh, I'll take this meds and in 3 days I'll get better. I'll take these meds today and I'll take them tomorrow. And I'll take them next tomorrow. And I'll take them next week. And I'll take them next month. I'll take them next year. I'll keep on taking them oh my God, that is hard. That is hard. And I'll have to keep on going. And then it's not like a condition that, okay, you can say, oh, I have, not like diabetes is all that cool though, but then even say I have diabetes, I have a mental illness. The way people react is different.
Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. So it's not an illness that you can just say out loud and be like, oh, okay, and people like be like, oh, okay, it's just that, okay, it's treatable. No, it's an illness that people like, hey, this guy is actually, this thing that he has been saying, this thing that he told me last week, are you sure that it's not because of this thing that he said that way or something? That's the kind of illness that it is. So it has its own things. So the first thing I had to accept was the fact that I was mentally ill. Okay. and I'll have to take meds for the rest of my life because the meds themselves, they have crazy side effects. They have side effects. One of them was weight gain. I had to work on that. I started working out and change of meds, adjustment of dosage, that kind of thing. And there's extrapyramidal side effects of the medication as well.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's dystonia, there's akathisia, but everybody experiences side effects differently for the different meds as well.
Yeah.
So I was experiencing dystonia, and that was very horrible for me. So they had to switch to quetiapine.
Please, what is dystonia?
What's dystonia?
Okay. Those are they're like uncontrollable muscle cramps, like muscle spasms. So my body felt like it was twisting and stuff like that. So I was always on Atene. Atene is like
Don't mention the drug. Favour, don't mention the drugs.
Don't.
All right. So
I know whatever you're saying now, it ties into our next question, which has to do with treatment options that are available for schizophrenia in the country.
So I had to accept the fact that, okay, I'm on meds as well, and the meds will be for the rest of my life. And even if these meds, it's not like these meds are like the best of meds to take. So yeah, like they have their side effects, that kind of thing. So those are the two things I had to accept. And then I had to also accept the symptoms, because accepting the symptoms is quite difficult as well. If you don't accept symptoms, you keep trying to battle them, and you kind of end up in depression because, oh, I'm having this symptom every day. Like, it's different for you to wake up and hear voices. I'm like, they have not left. Wow. Then you should wake up and hear voices. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm used to that. It happened yesterday. There's a very big difference in that. Yeah. One of them will lead you to one kind of down state throughout that day, and then hope for the next day to be better, or without voices, or without whatever symptom you experience. Whereas the other one will be like, okay, it's something I experience every day, I'm okay with it, and well, my day won't be ruined by that. Yeah. So those are some of the things I had to like.
I'm so awed by you, honestly. When you're in Lagos, I'm so looking forward to having a long conversation with you. Sorry, this is out of the question. Has it affected your dating life? Have you ever
it was in the back of my head.
Like, have you told the girl that, yes, I have a mental condition, and is there any girl that is cool with it?
Are you also worried about the potential, that genetic aspect, even if it is a minute aspect? Has that been something of a concern to you?
Is it about genetics that for one parent, it's just 10% probability of a risk factor, just 10%. For two, it's like 40%. So it's about not getting married to like someone else that is mentally ill. That's something that.
How do you know? How would you know? Because there is the potential for some of these to develop later in life, not simply just schizophrenia, but any other mental illness that meets the criteria. Some of them can develop later in life. How would you know?
Well, there's actually psychiatric evaluations. There's various tests like CBT tests that could be done, brain scans and all of that. But it depends on you, Sha. In the end, it's more about love and stuff. But yeah, there is that. So,
Favour. Yeah, skipping the question, Favour. Is there a beautiful girl somewhere who is walking along this journey with this great young man? You don't have to tell us.
You're asking me.
Who are we supposed to ask? People is blushing.
Yes, now.
We can take
the blush.
We can take the blush as an answer.
Take it as a yes.
We can take the blush as an answer. Okay. Wait.
Okay, I would leave you until we see.
Until we see.
So anyway, for Favour, for families that maybe they have a child who has like maybe some kind of mental condition, what do you think parents can look out for an early diagnosis, so that maybe when they can get help early, they might be able to, help the child before it escalates? Yeah.
Some of the things you can look out for is the way they speak. The way the person starts to speak will change. Like, you start saying things that are not necessarily logical. Okay. So incoherent speech, even the way you behave changes because your perception of reality has changed. See, schizophrenia is a chronic, severe mental disorder that affects the way one behaves, one thinks, one feels, and perceives reality. So it affects the way you behave in general. So you have to look at all those factors and be like, okay, what's really going on with my child? Like, why is my child saying things that, like, he wasn't brought up this way. It's not like he's watching movies that are making him talk like this. It's not like he has friends that are trying to influence him like this. It's quite easy. Like, if you are expensive, if you are delusional, you start saying things because you believe you are God, you start saying you're God. Okay, that's something that is weird already. Okay, then if you are experiencing paranoia is intense suspicion. You're just very suspicious of others. Like you think that they're out to get you. You can be like, the government is watching me through my phone. Like, why should someone be saying the government is watching me through my phone or through the cameras in the house? That's already something that is not normal. That's paranoia. Or that my friends are out to kill me. Like, there are things that you can just like. It's about the way this person starts speaking, the way person starts behaving as a result of the symptoms that they are experiencing. Those are things that you can watch out for. So it's like. Yeah, that's
Favour,
really mean.
Honestly, we're going to have a part 2 of this, and you are going to be in Lagos by the grace of God the next time that we're having this conversation. Thank you so much.
And thank you for inspiring people. You have fans all over.
Yes, all over.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been a powerful and deeply human conversation. We're grateful to Favour Jeremiah for his honesty, courage, and generosity in sharing his lived experience of schizophrenia, and not just his challenges, but the strength, discipline, and self-awareness it takes to keep showing up every day. Today's conversation reminds us that schizophrenia is not a definition of a person. It is not a sentence. With the right support, understanding, and access to care, people living with mental health conditions can live full, meaningful lives. If there's one takeaway from this conversation, it's this: stigma thrives in silence, but understanding begins with listening. And the more we create more space for stories like this, the closer we'll move to a society that treats mental health with the seriousness, compassion, and dignity that it deserves. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. And this is Jasiri for today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.